So right now, HBO is leaning quite heavily into a brand new television show. That's right, The Last of Us is coming to a TV series, and you're seeing it in a giant wave of promotion across all the trades and any entertainment news site that you can find. But of course, all the fans want to know is, will it be any good? And that's a rather large question because for most game adaptations, whether it be for film or television, the answer is usually a resounding no. Who can forget the decades-long desire for a Halo film series or a television show or any of those things to actually come to fruition, only to have Paramount go and screw it up in one episode of their TV series? That's right, the destruction of a franchise in one episode. So the question, of course, is, will this be more of the same from the very first frame, or will it be something quite different that maybe fans will enjoy? Oh, and by the way, did I mention that yet another game sequel could be incoming? Or even a multiplayer game? I didn't? Well, let's dive into the latest. Here we go. I have to say that there are several things that are going to be featured in this show that give me pause, and that's even looking beyond the actor that is going to be portraying Joel, and I'm just going to set that aside. Of course, there's still obviously Druckmann, who is so terrified of criticism that he places false copyright strikes on videos via his paid bottom feeder Muso. And we will never forget that, nor will we forgive it, Neil. Of course, that leaves us with just what can we expect from this particular fool? I mean, I can't imagine much positive. Again, a little bit burned out on this guy. But of course, Sony's also to blame for that controversy because they allowed for, again, false DMCA things and all kinds of copyright baloney sausage to be foisted upon creators who were merely covering leaks and finding that they were confirming everybody's worst fears. And I'm not going to start on why the copyright system is broken specifically on YouTube. I think there should be severe financial ramifications for false copyright strikes. And I think that if somebody, even a studio, I think if they make a false strike or a false copyright claim, I think that they should suffer the same penalties as, I don't know, an everyday average YouTube creator would, like potentially a banning. But hey, it's not why we're here. The piece that I'm pulling from primarily today is the trade paper, The Hollywood Reporter. And so, of course, it's a puff piece, and it's designed to be that way, so, I mean, nobody should be surprised. And it's, again, the standard pablum that you would expect, featuring some distinctly different images and imaging than you'll actually see in the show, at least from the photo campaign that you're presented in this article. It doesn't look like the way the show will look, of course. It's too glossy, refined, and reimagined. Careful of that word. The cast in particular, of course, being Pedro Pascal, who plays Joel, wants you to know that he's agonized over this particular role. It's really something that he's focused on. He and Bella Ramsey, of course, you know her from Game of Thrones. Well, she's playing Ellie, by the way. They want this to look and feel as much like the game as possible. And they supposedly have fretted over getting everything right, even down to like shot-to-shot accuracy for certain scenes that are from the game. Now, their efforts remain to be seen in this, but we won't have to wait that long. It premieres in January, on the 15th of this month, as a matter of fact. I still remain concerned in light of some key interview points, though, because, well, you let them talk, which is a problem. And let's start with this. There's going to be a severe divergence in the story from the game. And those are not my words at all. In fact, let me read it verbatim from the person that said it. Just when you think you know exactly what the show is, there's an episode that rises well above expectation. In this case, this head-turning hour arrives early with its third episode. No spoilers, but it involves a fan favorite character from the game, a hardcore survivalist named Bill, played by Nick Offerman, by the way, and some radical changes to the game's story that will shock and perhaps challenge fans. Does that sound good? In other words, in Hollywood speak, it's not shot for shot, so don't expect that. It's not even going to be anywhere close. So what is obviously Pascal thinking, Ramsey, Cuckman, Mazin, what are they worried about? Well, of course, with massive deviations from the story of the game, which, again, this was supposed to be a story about the first game, they're worried about backlash. And of course, Druckmann was the center of huge backlash in the sequel because of the leak and the marketing fan hate campaign that he put together. And that kind of plagued the game's overall profitability because, again, instead of attacking the fans, you could just say, we made some different choices, da-da-da-da-da. That's not what they did. They just attacked people, made some false copyright claims on material that they did not own in any way. That was not good. I mean, making wild statements, defending the radical politics and messaging that ventured very far away from the game's story, tone, and characters, or at least the original game, you would have thought, would have been dealt with a little more tactfully, deftly, and perhaps with, a softer tone. But again, it cost them. I mean, at least Naughty Dog as an entity got their game topped out as far as the number of units that were moved. In fact, that number seems to not have moved from the 10 million overall copies that have sold since its release. And I say sold loosely because that's just the number of copies that made its way, those copies made their way, I should say, into retailers' hands. And it doesn't necessarily represent the number of games that actually made it into gamers' libraries. Most notably, the game, if it did manage to get that many copies of games into gamers' hands, into their homes, it fizzled out very quickly with a very few number of people playing the game for very long, if at all. There was a lot of times of, unmeasured gameplay when we were keeping track of this early on. It also may have rendered this game profitless. It may have actually lost some money. In fact, some people still speculate that the game is critically in the red, for lack of a better way to describe it. Now, Cuckman's worst fear, of course, I keep doing that. Druckmann's worst fear, of course, is perception. Perception of him, obviously, most assuredly, but also the industry as a whole, and in particular his studio. Again, it comes down to how well the adaptations have been received by fans. In fact, I'm going to quote Druckmann himself. People see bad adaptations, and it adds credence to the idea that the games are childish. That's not what the credence is. That's not what people think of the game. Anyway, doesn't matter. I love the idea that someone could watch this and be moved by it, and then be like, wait, that's based on a video game? Well, it would be surprising if you could do something like that, Neil, but there are a few out there. And of course, I personally doubt that will happen much outside of the shills with this particular show. The industry folks are going to keep clawing to keep their access, but hey, I would love to be pleasantly surprised because this will be something that I'm going to attempt to watch. So you'll get to see me suffer if it's bad, or you'll get to see me enjoy something if it's good. And the reason I don't expect this show to be particularly good is because the showrunner, Craig Mazin, I think that's how you say his name, confirms massively wicked deviations from the original story. And again, I'll use his words, his quote. I don't want to see the story done poorly any more than the game's fans do. Give us the chance, that's bad. I think they will be just as rewarded in a different way, but just as rewarded. There's a couple different ways to take that quote. I'm going to take it in terms of what was just said by Cuckman, because the quotes fall right behind each other. But it could be different than that. maybe this isn't going to be that different. Of course it is. They plan to be inconsistent in their timeline. That's the nice way to put it. So you can count on a dizzying number of flashbacks that will continue to lose audiences because obviously audiences don't like that mechanic anymore. It's been overused, it creates boredom, and it usually is covering up for some serious faults. So we can also expect a pretty healthy dose of modern world garbage in here too, which is ridiculous because in a survival circumstance, there's no room for that. But hey, there's more. Season 1 is the first game. That's how they're presenting it. They're going to wrap it up nice and tidy with a bow, which means Season 2, if they actually get one, if anybody watches this thing, will be, you guessed it, the fully destructive sequel, full of all of the modern politics of the day, which make no sense in a post-apocalyptic survival game with zombies. Because trust me, the last thing you're going to concern yourself with, well, is that stuff, right? Of course, I'm not done. Hang on to your hats. As I mentioned, this is, this isn't going to be the only news we're getting on this. As I mentioned during the cold open, there's a third game coming. Or maybe a fourth. We don't really know exactly how to read the tea leaves here because there is, quote unquote, more story to tell. Now, that quote, of course, comes from Mr. Druckmann himself in the course of the Hollywood article reporting, and it was been reported elsewhere, including, Comic Book and all those other places. Maybe it's referring to this, the rumored promised multiplayer for The Last of Us 2. Except, even though that was announced and had been coming for a very long time, that changed up. In fact, now you're going to get a standalone multiplayer experience with its own, of course, different location in the US, and an entirely different story with different characters, cast, etc. That you can expect sometime in 2023. I mean, who would have expected Neil to change everything up, not deliver DLC or multiplayer in the game he said was going to have both, bait and switched his way into something else. And I expect that there's going to be a healthy price tag attached to this disappointment as well, if anybody bothers to get it. I think they should expect fewer sales, but I'm sorry. Personally, it's very easy for me to root for this Hate Stain's failure at any point. I'm referring specifically to Neil Druckmann. Regardless, HBO is stuck with this show. They are. They have to air it. And it was launched under a different regime, or conceived of, or approved of, however you want to put it. And I imagine that the one that is overseeing it now is going to view it very critically. In fact, if it's not good, I don't see a second season in the cards. Don't know how many more chances this Pedro Pascal guy is going to get. We'll have to see. But hey, I could be wrong. What do you think? Will this show lift itself beyond the massive pile of adaptation failures and disappointments and find its way into the fans' hearts? Is it going to appeal to the majority of fans of the game, or just the majority of fans of good television, which I think would be preferable even beyond the viewers of the game? I think you want as broad an audience as possible. And I have to ask this, a little snarkily, will Neil find new ways to trash fans? Because that seems to be something he relishes. Is he going to do that in an effort to draw a magical audience that doesn't seem to materialize ever when this particular type of strategy is done? I'll have to see. And lastly, are you keen on the new multiplayer version of The Last of Us? I don't think I am. Fully expecting to be disappointed. What happened to Naughty Dog and a lot of these great studios? What a shame. Anyway, give me your thoughts down below in the comments section. I imagine this will be somewhat fun because anytime I come out negatively on a video game, the comments get rather spicy. So hopefully we'll have a fun conversation there. And as I always do, I suggest that you support independent content creators. There's a lot of us out there, people that are scrambling to find news bits for you and cover them as quickly as possible in a way that does not lend itself to mainstream media bias. Of course, I inserted a healthy dose of my own opinion here and my own perception of what we are about to receive. But, you know, I think that's healthy as well. I think it's healthy for all of the content creators to give their fair opinions, and their mostly educated ones, when it comes to this type of thing. Any kind of content out there that they feel comfortable covering. I'm glad to support independent creators like Ryan Cannell, who got his channel very well nearly banned by Musso and the efforts of Sony and Naughty Dog, and more specifically Neil Druckmann, excuse me. You know, there are a lot of other people out there as well that also challenged the system. I just think that one's the most notable from that period of time. Anyway, that support can come in many ways. Obviously, be subscribed to content creators that you enjoy. Hit the bell icon for notifications, and obviously put comments in the comment section, because it drives the algorithm, because it's interaction. Also, if you wouldn't mind, share out videos that you enjoy, because it does boost the channel. It gives people, well, an indication that there's another side of the story out there, or another version of the news that they may want to hear. And with that, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye. And don't forget to check out my Rumble at rumble.com/CultureCasino.
Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.